Congratulations on your directorial debut. We've seen you take on so many diverse and eclectic acting roles, and I'm wondering, when did you get the urge to start writing and directing?
I really don't know how to pinpoint it. I started becoming very interested in what directors do when I worked with Peter Weir. So that was on Master and Commander about 11, 12 years ago, and I started really keeping my eyes and ears open.
Now, I heard as a producer you initially hired yourself to star in the movie alongside your wife, and then as a writer-director you actually fired yourself. What happened there?
Well, I've rather cleverly put Anthony Mackie and Jennifer Connelly in a movie about a homeless junkie and a homeless Nigerian Muslim, because people don't tend to give you a lot of money to make films about that. So I added myself into the mix to raise finance, and then just before we started shooting, I cut the scene.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, I mean, I was wondering, of all the stories that you could have used for your directorial debut, what made Shelter the one that you just had to tackle?
Well, I was writing about a few different things. One was a comedy, and it was a sort of satire, and the other was a film. I wanted to write a film that was about judgment, and I didn't know what shape that would take, or where that would be set, or who it would be about, but I knew I wanted to write a film about judgment because I think it's an urgent issue. I think that on a macro global level, and as well as a sort of micro individual level, we're becoming more and more black and white in our positions, and yet the world is increasingly full of more and more grey area, and I didn't know what that should be about, but it felt like an urgent issue, and then it slowly became about homelessness.
So was this story actually inspired by anyone you encountered, homeless people in New York, for instance?
New York has a huge homelessness problem. There are 59,000 homeless people every night. It's the second richest city in the world, and 25,000 of those people are children, and that's a shocking problem. But again, it's, you know, it really isn't a polemic about homelessness being bad or drug addiction being bad, because of course it is, and any decent human being knows that that is true. But I wanted to find a place where a couple were met and were totally isolated together and were from entirely different backgrounds and histories, and discover the differences in them and also the similarities between them.
So when you were writing this movie, Shelter, did you always have your wife, Jennifer Connelly, in mind to star in it?
Sort of. I mean, I started writing it when I thought maybe it would be about this homeless couple who I lived outside my apartment. I started writing and sort of realized organically, although I hate that word because I never quite know what it means, that I was writing it for my wife.
Okay. Now, I'm sure people ask you all the time, but obviously you've been featured and talked about so much as a couple when making this movie. Was it a bit of a collaborative process, would you say? And, you know, does the wife get to veto any decisions when she's in it?
Yes, that's where the trust comes from. The trust comes from knowing that if I put something in the movie that she wasn't happy with, she could beat me up for 25 years.
But were there any scenes in particular that were particularly difficult to film, being the husband and seeing your wife in front of the camera?
Yes, there's one very obvious scene in the movie that was very difficult, and it's about her humiliation, and that was a real struggle to not become emotional about it, because you want to cover the scene, you know, in a very brutal and honest way, and you feel very much that this is an uncomfortable place for your wife to be in, and that was unpleasant.
You know, I've repeatedly read that, you know, Jennifer saying that she gave this movie everything that she possibly had to make sure it was a success.
Yeah, she's extraordinary in the film.
So just in terms of your future career, are we going to be seeing you more as a director or an actor? You know, what are the perks of each?
I want to do both. It's made me enjoy acting even more. I love the myopia of acting, the ability to be able to just focus on your responsibility in a larger world. And then I really enjoy being responsible for the whole thing as a director.
What is the next project that we can expect to see you in?
Well, I've got a film coming out called Mordecai with Johnny Depp and Gwyneth Paltrow and Ewan McGregor. That comes out in January, and then I'm in Avengers 2, which comes out in May, so that will be a monster.
Now, before we let you go, just a bit of a personal question. I'm obviously a mother, expectant mother, first time. Yeah, oh, you didn't notice? I'm going to take that as a compliment. Now, I know that you and Jennifer have 3 kids. You got any advice for me being in the media?
Oh, my goodness, no. Being a parent changes your life irrevocably, and only in good ways. You think that there's going to be, you're told that there's going to be some loss, and everything that you lose by having children is bagatelle. It's nothing next to everything that you gain, which is this extraordinary journey that you're about to go on. And it's wonderful.
Thank you so much, and that's so lovely. And hopefully we're going to see you here with your son and the whole family going up the Burj Khalifa, right? Because that's the dream right now.
It's everything that he wanted.
Well, I hope to see. Thank you so much for joining us.
Such a pleasure.